Today we have a beer walk-in that's not working right. It's temping at about 60 degrees. Let's poke our nose back here and see what the back of the coil looks like. It's a little dirty, but it doesn't look like it's iced up, just dirty. Let's jump onto the roof because I don't think the problem's gonna be down here. It could be a temp control issue, but let's jump on the roof first and see what happens. This is my beer walk-in condensing unit right here. Let's have a look in here. Condenser fan motor's moving. It's cold air coming out. Sounds like the compressor's running, but we don't know what the problem's gonna be. So I'm gonna need to go grab some service gauges. I have a feeling it's gonna be low on refrigerant, but let's open it up and see. All right, I got the cover off and you can clearly see that the unit is low on refrigerant. The refrigerant is bubbling in the sight glass or just, trickling in there. Here's what we're gonna do. Before I add refrigerant, before I apply service gauges, we're gonna do a quick leak search up on the condensing unit itself. This looks suspect right here. We might have a leak right there. It could be a leak downstairs, but a leak downstairs can be repaired. A leak right here cannot be repaired unless it's just a Schrader valve, okay? So we're gonna leak search this first to make sure, because if there is a leak downstairs, I'm probably not gonna fix it today anyways because it's Saturday, we're on overtime. But as long as it's not a giant leak and it's downstairs, we could pump it down and repair it so it's safe for me to add refrigerant in the meantime. But if it's leaking really good right here, I can't pump that down because that's on the high side. So I shut the condensing unit off while it was running, so it wasn't pumped down. So now I can leak search this entire condensing unit to see if we can find anything. So I got the DR82 from Field Piece right here. We're gonna put it on the highest sensitivity, turbo. We're gonna give it a leak search. The cool thing is the lighted tip on this. Okay, it's not picking it up. I don't doubt that there's something there because there's oil, but it's super tiny if it is. Let's see, it'll probably just be like every once in a while, bloop, bloop. Another thing, a common misconception is that a cap is gonna stop. Oh no, yeah, see, it sprayed out. So these caps, it's a common misconception to think that this is gonna stop a leak even if it has a gasket in it. No, it'll slowly seep by. So the leak detector wasn't picking it up because it was so tiny, but now it'll go crazy. Okay, so we have a bad Schrader. Now, you can put a cap on there to slow it down, but if there's a leak at that Schrader, it's gonna get past that O-ring. That O-ring's not gonna stop a total refrigerant leak. It's gonna reduce it for sure. So that's one leak for sure. Now I'm gonna leak search the rest of this unit really quick, just to be safe. Now, there's another thing. This particular unit is a cold zone or a Russell condensing unit. They are notorious for leaking right here. The discharge Schrader is way too close to the discharge of the compressor. It really should be up here because right outside of the body of the compressor is very subjective to overheat situations. That discharge could get as high as, who knows, 200 something degrees in the summertime when the ambient temp's really hot. I can see through the condenser. You guys probably can't, but I can see light through it. But these are very common to leak. So we're gonna do a quick leak search on the rest of the unit, make sure there's nothing giant on the high side, and then we'll put service gauges on it and probably top off the charge and go downstairs and see if it's just a small leak that we can come back and fix. I'll be honest though, the age of this equipment, this is the really good customer about replacing equipment. They oftentimes don't want to repair, especially, so this is a 2003. I'm looking at the serial number, 03. So this is well over 20 years old, R22. I wouldn't be surprised if they don't just want to replace the equipment. But not my decision to make. So we're gonna do a quick leak search on the rest of the unit real quick. Hot spots are pressure controls. Pressure controls leak regularly. Nothing there. We're just looking for giant stuff. Nothing. You can clearly see the inside of this unit's dirty, but the condenser's pretty clean. So I'm just doing a quick leak search, seeing if anything giant pops up. All right, I don't see any issues there. So what we're gonna do is go ahead and apply our service gauges and then turn it back on and see what else we can figure out. It is about 73 degrees outside. Our vapor saturation's -24, liquid saturation 71. We are definitely low on refrigerant, okay? But in doing this, I happen to notice right here, look at that. There's a refrigerant leak right there too. That's a big one. It's like a cracked liquid line or something. Something's going on there. So yeah, that's a problem, but that can be fixed by pumping it down too. So at this point right now, before I add any more refrigerant, we are going to go downstairs and leak check the evaporator to see how bad of a situation we're in. So what I'm going to do is open up the high side, open up the low side, and we're equalizing out the gauges. So we are putting refrigerant on the low side as much as we have on the high side, so that way we can better find the leaks and see like what kind of a situation we're in. Look at that. It's also leaking at the king valve of the receiver. That's a mess. That happens because the packings go bad on those, but still, that's another thing to add to our list of problems here. So we'll put a cap on it for now, but that's gonna be a problem. We gotta get that added to the list. This thing, like I said, I don't think this equipment's gonna be very much worth fixing anything. Now this right here, if I don't burn my hand off, it's a pretty good leak. This right here is because I opened up the king valve. Normally, it won't spray out like that. Okay, that's about as much as I can hold with my hand before I burn my fingers. So that's a pretty sizable leak on that king valve. So we are going to, but again, like I said, when I backseat that, it won't be that bad. With the system shut off on the roof and equalized out, I shut the power switch off. Now the problem with shutting the power switch off is that it closes the liquid line solenoid valve. But because I equalized it out on the roof, it should be good. Okay. I got a big hit right when I started. Where did I get a hit from? There was something. So there's leaks in this evaporator too. And it's very deteriorated. You can see it's just all green and corroded. You can see it's been running low for a while because the liquid line has turned like black, so it's been getting hot. I've been running low on refrigerant. So there's leaks in here too. Check it out. Turn the fans back on, and that fan's going bad too. It's gonna take a while to start up. This is like a dumpster fire of problems. Let's see if I can spin it and get it going. It's got bearings going bad because I got it spinning, but it's making that horrible noise. What do you know? It went away. It's bad. It's bad. I'm just adding it to the list of problems that I have. So I'm gonna put the cover back on for now. We might be able to just get some gas in this and then give the customer a giant list of problems. I did end up finding a leak. It was really hard to get the camera back in there, but it's on the top of the evaporator, like coming down from like the top of the TXV or something. There's something in there. I grabbed some of the big blue soap bubbles right there, and I sprayed it right here, and we have a tiny crack, tiny little micro leak right there. So it's not pouring gas out. We have a leak there. We've got a fan motor going bad. We have a leak at the receiver. This equipment's just beat down. So I talked to the customer. At this point right now, they want me to go ahead and top off the charge. So I got some R22 right there. We're gonna go ahead and put some refrigerant in this, get it down to temp. Their biggest issue is they can't sell beer right now, and they need to sell beer. So we're gonna get this topped off, get it running, and then we'll come back when we're not on overtime next week, early in the morning, when we can fix it, repair. We're gonna have to repair this because the new equipment, because the customer is gonna order new equipment, but the new equipment won't get here in time. It'll be a couple weeks before we get it, and this thing's just gonna keep leaking. So we'll probably have to come back, fix that leak at a minimum, And then, well, again, I'll bring it up to their attention. We'll see what they want to do. It's their decision. So we're going to go ahead and turn this guy back on and top off the charge now. All right, check this out. When I equalized it out and started it back up, I brought the head pressure up. And the sight glass is clear now. Now let me ask you, you're watching this right now. Why, when I haven't put any gas in it yet, why all of a sudden is the sight glass clear? And look at my head pressure. My head pressure is all the way up. Now it's slowly dropping, but why did the head pressure come up, the suction pressure come up, and my sight glass clear up if I didn't add any gas? The answer is the head pressure control valve. This system is only short the winter charge or the flooded charge. The head pressure control valve bypasses in the morning, okay, because it's cool outside. But right now we're in a weird transition period where we're gonna have an 80, 85 degree maybe day today, right? But in the morning it was in the 60s. It was low enough that it brought the head pressure down and it started to bypass, but it didn't have enough gas. And so once it realized that it didn't have enough gas, it ran starved, okay? If the head pressure drops again below 180 right now, which I have no way to simulate that unless I put cold water on the condenser, then all of a sudden my head pressure control valve, which bypasses at 180 PSI, would open up and it would try to flood the condenser, but there's not enough gas in the system, so it would run low again and start starving the evaporator. So we are only low the flooded charge or the winter charge. So we're gonna go ahead and top off the charge. We just gotta fill up the receiver. That's the only way we could do this really, is just add refrigerant, get the receiver to the 3/4 level when it's pumped down, because there's no nomenclature here saying how much gas to add, you know. Well, let's look. Sometimes there is, no, there's not. Oh, wait, there might be. Let's look down here. I don't know if this red tag has the flooded charge written on it or not. I can't remember. No, it's not this one. There used to be tags that would be left on these units. I think it was a green one on this side, and it would say the flooded charge. But no, that's just another warning label. So, all right, well, I'm gonna have to add refrigerant to this system, so that way when it does bypass in the morning, it doesn't run out of refrigerant again, or it doesn't starve the evaporator coil. But yeah, that's why when I shut it down, the head pressure came up, because I equalized it out, and then now it's started that way. So more than likely, if the customer would have waited another hour, it would have came down to temp, and then it would have just been, they would have noticed it in the morning, and then, you know, that kind of stuff. So this compressor, I'm just listening to it, it sounds horrible too. They are really on borrowed time with this equipment. It has reached its lifespan or whatever, exceeded its lifespan really, or whatever you want to say. So I'm going to talk with the customer. I topped off the charge. They should have enough gas to get them through. I'm going to talk to the customer about trying to get an emergency replacement, because I don't think this condenser is going to last very long, especially once it really starts getting warm this week. I think they're going to run into some problems. Plus the leaks that it has. It does have leaks, but they're small. And remember, it was just the flooded charge, so it was just about 3 pounds of gas. But it was enough, you know, to cause a problem. So, all right, I'm gonna take my gauges off and we're gonna talk to the customer and see about getting them some new equipment. I pumped it down, checked the liquid level, got it to the 3/4 mark, and it was just slightly over 3 pounds, just under 4. And then I'm getting ready to put the cover back on and everything. I wrote this. After sight glass is clear and head pressure is above 200 PSI, add 3.8 pounds for the headmaster to operate properly. Go figure. So they used to have a tag, and that's why I was looking for it. It was a green tag is what I remember now. And I would always write it. So sometimes I would write it on top of the condenser, but I actually wrote it right here. So go figure. Yeah, this thing's had a long life, to say the least. Wow, we've done a lot of work on it over the years. All right, well, I'm putting it all back together. All right, we are back today, and the customer's opted to replace the equipment. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna pump down the refrigerant at the liquid line because we have a running system. Shut it down, we'll recover the refrigerant out of the unit on the ground, and then we're gonna get started with replacing the condensing unit and the evaporator downstairs. Well, it's good we showed up today. Change of plans. We were going to pump it down, but as we were pumping it down, compressor shut off on thermal overload before the pressures even got high, so it's equalized out and compressor's not running. So that's fine. We just got to bring up the recovery equipment. The more I come around, we just realized that the condenser's plugged. So it could have been doing, who knows what's up. But regardless, we're changing this equipment. So we'll get the recovery machine. We'll go ahead and recover right now. Our crane's going to show up in a half an hour, so hopefully we get that done and then start getting this disconnected. As far as our attic space to get to the top of the coil and the line set, doesn't look too bad. A little tight in here, but it's doable for sure. This is pretty much a cakewalk compared to some walk-ins. So, all right, so I'm down in the bottom of the walk-in box right now, and this is our line set, and we need to open up this hole. So I have another technician on top, and we're gonna cut this out, but I have him watching to make sure that my Sawzall blade doesn't go anywhere near anything sensitive. We're just gonna try to elongate it to make passing a new line set down easier. All right, we got it kind of opened up a little bit more. It's not ideal. I don't know why they drill through that sub floor or sheeting or whatever. Like, they should just open up the hole, seal it up on the top. But regardless, we opened it up so now we can pass line sets through. My neck is killing me. Line set's going over there, that far one over there. So I'm gonna get over there and start helping them unhook. All right, so this is a major team effort. You know, this line set is not going to be like crazy. It's up in an attic. It doesn't need to be like Unistrut, Cushatherm clamps, like all that stuff, okay? We have it supported nice and good. It's going up and over. It's secure. We pull back. This is the outdoor insulation. This doesn't look very good inside the box, and it doesn't bend well or anything. So we pull that back up here, and we're going to get some normal insulation that'll go in the box over the P-trap and then push up here, and then we'll seal this right here. Lines are already going down. My electrical is going to utilize the old line set hole because that's in line with where the electrical should go. The electrical is in that junction box right there, so we'll just run some seal tight conduit over, down that hole, and then we'll be done. We also got the coil bolts up. We got to be very careful up here because soda lines, all kinds of stuff. So you can't be drilling without someone being up here ready, you know. We moved the coil a little bit, but overall we're looking pretty good. All the bolts are in. We just need to do that electrical and then get on the roof and do the bending and the connection up at the roof. All right, this is our condensing unit. The electrical we already hooked up. We're good to go on that. Pulled into the, you know, into here, so we're good. Now we need to do the line set. So we ran it just loose like that. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna come out right there. It's not gonna be perfect, okay? But they really want us to cut back on these installs, make them a little bit cheaper. So, you know, we can't go crazy with Unistrut and stuff like that. So we'll just do our best to bend it, kind of 45 it over, hug that line, something along those lines, and then maybe even just 4x4s down on the ground or something. But I'm gonna get working on that right now. So I was gonna come down, kind of do this 45, and I was gonna put 4x4s under here, but I'm actually gonna use a 2x4. So I have someone going to get some Redwood 2x4s, put them under there. This will straighten out. I went ahead and bent this and then this, and that goes into the pipe, and it should be good. And then I'm gonna start on the 3/8 now. We just gotta make sure it clears that lid, because that lid is like angled down, so we don't want it to be rubbing. But this insulation really does a good job of stopping things from vibrating through the lines. All right, I've got this nitrogen adapter. My buddy Chris Hughes made this. He partnered with Subco Trade Fox, and they sell it now. But pretty cool little thing. Slides over, has a bunch of O-rings. It's kind of the opposite of the other one. But I swept through the lines because it didn't have caps on the end, we realized after we started running it. So that was bad. Both sides, this side and the bottom side, did not have caps on the line set. So we swept it with nitrogen, and then now we're gonna hook it up and we'll purge with nitrogen as I'm brazing. All right, so then I just give it an inspection from the bottom side, make sure we have a good amount down there. That looks good. I don't want to see any gaps. I like to have extra solder. Yeah, there's a little bit too much, but I'm fine with that. I'd rather have more solder and no leaks. So we're good. I had pulled this insulation back, so now I'm gonna push it back, tighten it on. It's not gonna go all the way up, and then we'll tape it. And then we got to go downstairs and start getting ready to do the brazing down there. Just a suggestion, when you're doing these, you don't want the insulation butting up against a compressor or a valve or anything, because it just lets it rust. Leave it off. You want it insulated as much as possible, but this last little section right here, you'll save the customer some money and not having to change a compressor in 3 years if the insulation's not going up, because it'll start rusting out really bad around there. So I always pull it off just a little bit. All right, we've got power on at the coil, moving fans, and that energizes the solenoid, so we'll be able to purge through the system, okay? Now, it's very important you never leave a solenoid off when it's energized. It'll burn up the coil on it really quick. As far as what this does, I have a line set sticking down. We always make it long. and then I basically am just marking it where the P-trap's gonna go. We have the P-trap coming out of the line set, and then that's gonna we'll make a piece coming over from here and 90 it in. That way we have a nice straight section of pipe to put the sensing bulb on, because you gotta have a good straight section of pipe for that. So always think about that. When people put traps right off the coils, it doesn't give you a good place to put a sensing bulb usually. So keep that in mind. I always offset them. All right, so it's not too bad. Looks pretty good. Insulation went all the way up. Now we'll cut that, do the sensing bulb, and then re-insulate it, but we push it all the way up like that for install. Yeah, turned out pretty nice. We'll secure everything. Now we gotta mount the sensing bulb, and then we already got the drain done, and we just gotta pull the vacuum on the roof. All right, line set turned out pretty good. We're gonna use some cooler tape on that coil, and then we're going to spray foam from the top. But everything's insulated, sensing bulbs right here, nice and good. Capillaries nice and safe. Careful, we don't want this rubbing. These things are not replaceable. But yeah, got someone up top pulling the vacuum now. I get a little awkward, gotta get in here and tape up these line set penetrations, and laying on the shelves is kind of fun. All right, we are all taped up with the cooler tape, so it'll blend into the walking eventually. So now we can spray foam from the top, and the foam shouldn't really pour down too much. And we've already got the vacuum pump running on the roof. All right, it's not too bad. Everything's set up. Again, we're leaving that off till we see the system operate. But yeah, I'm gonna run up, check on the vacuum. Temp control set. Comes down to 35, comes up to 39. 35 to 39 is what it's gonna cycle at, so that should be good. I don't know what happened to, I don't think this insulation was there, but won't really be able to put it with that union there anyways. We're able to put this back on, and we got that on. Now, you know, I mean, that line set's not the prettiest thing in the world, but it's not horrible. But like I said, we're trying to cut on the costs on these things, so like that, goes in, it's about as good as it can be. Vacuum's nice and good, 450, we'll let it run for another minute. That's a true vacuum, because you see that we only pulled the Schrader core out of this side over here, and that's just the micron gauge. So we're flowing fully through the system. So we're gonna open the receiver here in just a minute, start it up, and make sure we've got the proper phase rotation on this guy. Let's see if the manufacturer wired the phase rotation correct on this guy. Go ahead. That's going in the right direction. Sounds good to me. So we've got a fan cycle switch. We've already got everything opened. I'm just putting the Schrader back in on this guy right here. Cool thing, look at that. You can see that Schrader if you're taking them out. It's really nice. Oh, and this is something that I don't think people have showed that's really nice, is they allow you to have the, this stays stationary, this black piece, so you can hold it with one finger and still turn it. It's really nice. I really dig that about that. But yeah, so we're good on that. And we're just gonna put normal gauges on it and watch the system come down to temp now. All right, we are running, this is a 448 system, 448A. I'd say it's about 80 degrees outside right now, so maybe 75, 80, so yeah, that's not too bad. 20 degrees over ambient to 15 degrees over ambient, somewhere in there. This one has the added subcooler loop too, so it does drop the head pressure a little bit. Sight glass is clear, right down there. We're good, so we're gonna let it run for a bit, and I'm gonna go down and check on the box downstairs, and they're just gonna start buttoning it up. We'll take the gauges off in a few minutes. You know, for what they want, they like the budget condensed units. You know, the line set is what it is. We're gonna be coming back tomorrow. We'll bring some straps to clamp that down to the 2x4s. We come back the next day usually to check superheat. This box was 50 degrees when we got here, and you know, the whole, I don't know, it's 2 p.m. We started at 7 a.m. So the whole time we were running the lines and everything, we had the doors open, so all the beer kegs came up really high in temp. We asked them to move them to the other walk-in cooler, but they didn't, so it is what it is. So it's gonna take a while for that beer to come down. So we'll come back and follow up, strap that line set down, and then check the evaporator superheat, make sure it's all working good tomorrow. So that's it on this one. We'll catch you on the next one. You have to treat every job differently. You never know what a customer is going to want, so I try to give them all the options and let them know. In this case, the customer didn't want me to spend a bunch of money getting their equipment going. They wanted, like I mention all the time, this particular customer is very proactive about replacing equipment. So, you know, as long as it wasn't going to completely go down, it wasn't a bad compressor yet, you know, they kind of want me to just band-aid it along until the new equipment comes in and then do the install. In this case, we did have to come out one time, I think,
before we did the replacement and put more refrigerant in it. It was a couple week process between when they got us the new equipment and we went out there to install it. You know, this wasn't like a rock star install. It didn't like, oh my gosh, blow people's minds because of how perfect the line set was and how straight everything was. But, you know, the customer doesn't always want to pay for this crazy, you know, install. You know, they actually, especially with inflation and everything going up, they like got to cut corners. They got to cut, you know, spending somewhere. And so, you know, they'd like to see these installs get a little bit cheaper, which means, you know, you're not going to be able to like make everything look amazing. You know, in reality, this will work just as good as like, you know, an install that I'd really, really be proud of. But, you know, it is what it is, and you got to do what the customer wants. And, you know, it's kind of a bummer, but at the same time, you don't want to irritate the customer because, you know, they keep giving you work, right? And they keep you moving. So, you know, we try our best. I will say it was a little odd, though, right? That when we came back to do the install of the compressor, when we went to go pump it down, the thing went off on thermal overload, like right away. And it's like, whoa, what a trip. Like, what were the odds? Actually, it wasn't when we went to pump it down, was it? Yeah, it was. It was. I think it was when we went to pump it down. You guys just watched the video. Maybe you remember. But yeah, no, that was crazy. So we ended up, you know, I was originally planning on pumping the system down, taking the unit down to the ground, using the recovery equipment down there, but we ended up having to bring it up onto the roof, which wasn't the end of the world. So I really appreciate you guys making it to the end of the videos as usual. If you're interested, please consider supporting the channel. You know, the easiest way in doing so is literally watch the videos from beginning to end. That really is the easiest way to support the channel. You can also do so via PayPal, Patreon, YouTube channel memberships. Those are all monthly commitments that you can choose to make. There's links in the show notes. You can also go to my website, hvacrvideos.com, where we have merchandise available, hats, beanies, sweatshirts, all that good stuff. And last but not least, you can go to TrueTechTools.com. So I was talking about the Fieldpiece core removal tool in here, right? TrueTechTools.com. You can order one of those. I think there's still like, there's a pretty big demand for those, so they're still pretty back ordered. But if you use my offer code on most of the items on their website, you'll get an 8% discount, and then I get a small commission. And the offer code is Big Picture, one word. So at checkout, if you put in Big Picture, one word, you'll get an 8% discount on majority of the items on their website. There's a few things it doesn't apply to, but you guys can figure that out. Again, I really do appreciate you, and we will catch you on the next one.